As the strangers finish picking through what remains of the battle and begin their long walk back to the town of Winter, a sound on the wind catches Fidelia's attention.
Did everyone hear that?
Hear what?
There was this sound. I don't know what it was. It sounded like a huge animal, maybe roaring, almost like a lion, something like that. I'm not sure what it was. Maybe it was just the wind. I'm not entirely sure what it was.
Could you tell the direction?
I was somewhere in this direction.
Do you think it sounds like something related to our mission to stop beasts interfering? Or maybe that's someone else's job?
Fidelia stops to think for a moment before a thought takes hold.
Didn't you buy scraps from the market? Some fabric scraps. Can we mark a few branches here just so we know where it was that we heard it?
Oh, yes. Here, you take some as well. Head to mark a few trees, just so if some get damaged, there are others left.
Theo, Razza, and Fingers split up, walking into the forest. They choose a few random trees and mark them with rags, allowing them to identify the area again if they happen to return later.
Okay, and so we will remember that we left fabric marking the place a couple hours outside of town.
I would prefer if we return to the city first, and then we can investigate. Maybe we can ask them what it was. Maybe it's someone else's problem.
I agree, and more food.
I just would very much like to collect the money for this first.
Assuming there's a contract.
The strangers continue their long walk back. An air of unease comes over them as they make their way through the winding wooded path. Theo leads the way, using his superior knowledge of all things nature to stay on the right path and get the group home. After many hours, they finally find themselves back on the border of the bustling town. Despite it getting later into the evening, the sounds of revelry emit from the tavern on the other side of the town.
So do we want to go back to our home and rest, or do we want to see if they are available to speak tonight?
I would suggest we go and collect our money first. I am not very trusting of these people yet. I just want to make sure we don't get screwed over and screwed out of our money, and also maybe we can immediately ask them about the noises that we heard. That way we can also figure out whether that's another contract we can pursue tomorrow, or whether there's something else that needs to be done for them. I just really like to collect our money, and then we can head back to the house.
Sounds like a plan to me.
The group gathers outside the now familiar front door of the town hall. The thunderous pounding on the door echoes down the street and throughout the hall. Shuffling footsteps from inside, padding to the door and unclasping the lock, reveal a tired-looking Aranai. She beckons the group into the town hall, revealing just the Oathkeepers, sitting around the table, looking a lot more relaxed and casual than they presented themselves earlier in the day. Well, this is a pleasant surprise. We weren't expecting you back for a few days. You look like you've had a bit of a set to. Very efficient work.
Yes, well, we were told there were beasts on the road, and we found them and dealt with them. They had laid an ambush along the road to the northeast. We detected them only just as they started their attack, so I can see how less experienced scouts than us may have been taken by surprise, but that shouldn't be an issue anymore.
I would like to inquire about a noise that I heard when we were on our way back.
Go on.
About a couple of hours outside of town before we came back into town, I heard this animal noise in the woods, and it sounded like an animal trumpeting. and another animal, maybe another monster, beast, something, roaring loudly, and it sounded very far away, so it sounded like incredibly large animals that were somewhere out in the woods. So, do you know what those are?
Sounds like a woolly.
What?
A woolly. Big things covered in hair. We try to avoid them. They are pretty dangerous.
Do they ever come into the town? Do they attack people?
We tend to leave them alone. They don't come to us if we don't bother them. They keep themselves to themselves normally, but they are pretty massive. I wouldn't go after one unless I had to. Not that we've never heard. We've never really been bothered by them before.
It sounded distinctively like two different creatures.
Well, if it sounded in distress, it might be worth checking out, see if there's any salvage left over there. They are considerably large, therefore they give off a lot of meat and fur, you know, it's good resources, but might be worth checking back in tomorrow if you're feeling brave.
Is that more contractual work?
Quite possibly, yes.
Between you and me, the Shadowed Company is not very reliable. All I ever heard was that they botch up all their jobs, so just keep an eye out for them.
If you say so. Oh, well, I remember. We have refitted your house slightly to make it a bit more hospitable and comfy. We hope you enjoy. The strangers leave the town hall, beaten, battered and bruised after their long and exhausting day. They make their way across the road to their now fully furnished house. Once inside the warm and cozy cottage, there's a quick debrief and plan for tomorrow, before Yari collapses in bed and goes straight to sleep. Theo passes out in a chair by the fire. Raza curls up next to the fire and sleeps with a purr in his throat. Fidelia joins Yari in taking a bed and wrapping herself in blankets, joins her friends in slumber.